Welcome to Beyond Ordinary Women podcasts and our series with leadership tips from women who've been there. Today, we welcome Dr. Jackie Roese, founder and president of the Marcella Project. Jackie, what's one thing you've learned about leadership that you want to pass on?
So I've been in ministry for over 20 years, and if I had to give like a tip to a young woman who is getting started or any woman who's getting started in ministry, I'd probably want to tell her that although I talk a lot about how men and women should serve together, many times the person who will trip you up the most in your ministry is another woman. And so I'd probably want to say, be aware that women police women. And what do I mean by that? Well, I can probably only explain it by sharing some examples in my own life and what happened. I came into the church. I wasn't serving in the church. I was just kind of hanging out doing life with all the other moms. I was a stay-at-home mom, had other friends that were stay-at-home moms, and slow but surely moved into ministry. Got asked to do this, got asked to do that, and slow but surely as I moved forward in ministry, I found that my friends would say kind of backhanded comments to me. Like I got invited to teach at a conference for the weekend, and so I flew and came back, and when I came back, there was a comment by one of my friends that was like, so something's got to be giving here with all your working in ministry. And the implication was that something was wrong with my marriage or that I wasn't being a good mother to my children. And, you know, as a woman, you're always feeling a little insecure about all of those dynamics that you're trying to keep, you know, all the balls you're trying to keep them in the air. So that it kind of poked at me a little bit. And then I had a friend that would, as I continued to get more and more well-known in the church for being a Bible teacher, I had a friend that would go to the Sunday school class and like use my family's name and examples that she, you know, was part of in our family so that others would know that she was close to me. And that was really hard. And then when I started teaching, I had a woman who came to me and she said she needed to share something with me. And she told me that she represented the 1950s women in our church, which meant they were women who had families when they were in the 1950s. And she said, you know, we stayed home and took care of our kids and made sure they had breakfast in the morning and dinner at night. And of course, I'm thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure I feed my children. But what was making her unnerved was that she said, you know, when we watch, we want to know what you're up to, is what she asked me. And I was kind of like, what do you mean what I'm up to? And she's like, where are you taking us in this church? And her deal was I had become, at the time, after about 10, 15 years, I'd become a very good teacher of the word. And so I was very competent, I was very skilled, and I felt competent and skilled in it. So she said to me, you know, you pace the stage when you speak like a man does. And actually, I've done my dissertation in preaching, and women actually tend to move on the stage more than men do. But that was her assessment. She said, you teach with confidence just like men do. And your hair is really wild, and we just want to know, where are you taking us? And what I realized was this woman probably would have been a doctor, a psychiatrist, maybe a women's minister. But she grew up in a time frame in which that was not allowed. And so this particular group of women, they've had to pay a heavy price. And now all of a sudden, I'm getting to do some of the things that probably she wanted to do. And it was probably pretty painful for her and her friends. And so how it came out was by policing me, trying to put me into a mold. I was making her nervous. And this is exactly what was happening to my friends. As I moved into ministry and they're still staying at home with their children, they're starting to ask themselves, well, oh, if this is what it looks like to be godly, then what am I and what am I doing? And it created an insecurity. And I guess what I would say to someone starting out is, don't be surprised by that. It will still hurt, but just know it is going to happen. And sometimes just having words for what you're experiencing can help you cope better. So what you need to know is, as you move into ministry, women in your church will start to police you.
Thanks for listening to the Beyond Ordinary Women podcast. You can find more podcasts and information about women in leadership by going to beyondordinarywomen.org. This podcast was produced by Beyond Ordinary Women Ministries. Our production team includes Evelyn Babcock, Kay Daigle, Kay Halligan, Deborah Herring, Sharifa Stevens, and John Sparks. Theme music, Back in Stride by Don Miller, used by courtesy of Christine Miller.